Ever since Jim Davis first started drawing his comic strip about a hungry orange tabby cat named Garfield, the characters brought many laughs to readers, while also being heavily merchandised and adapted into various media. And now he has a new animated movie appropriately titled The Garfield Movie. Although the thing that most piqued my interest is that it's directed by Mark Dindal. He impressed with his first two movies, Cat Stone Dance and The Emperor's New Groove, which showed a quick comedic wit. However, Garfield is the first feature film he has directed since Chicken Little in 2005. The major reason for this gap in his filmography is that any movie he became attached to never went past the development stage, with Me and My Shadow at DreamWorks Animation being the one I'm most disappointed never happened. But now that he's back, what do I think of the Garfield movie? To start with the positives, the artists and animators did a terrific job of capturing the look of the comics. Davis's designs and style of humor are very specific, and they absolutely nailed it with many of the character poses and physical gags. Dindal's work is known for having a high energy and fast-paced cartoon style, and that continues to be evident with the Garfield movie, as a number of gags have that snappiness to them. The first act of the movie does a really good job of establishing who Garfield is with many of his trademarks. We of course get his love of eating, particularly Italian food, with a standout sequence in an Italian restaurant as kid-and-age Garfield hops from table to table, gobbling everything in sight. There's also his hatred for Mondays, which is depicted in an hilarious sequence along with his general laziness. Also liked how Garfield and Odie's relationship is depicted. In the comic strips, he's mostly annoyed with that excitable yellow dog, but I don't mind that they have more of a partnership in this movie, with Odie even helping and enabling Garfield's appetite here. That sort of fast, three-panel humor that Garfield specialized in is nicely adapted in those early sequences, and there are some other funny lines that pop up throughout the movie. So as you can see, I was quite into the Garfield movie. And then the story starts. All of a sudden, it turns into a heist movie, with Garfield and Odie teaming up with a former's father to steal some milk from a dairy farm, and it goes in all kinds of bizarre directions. The story chosen for this movie did not interest or excite me all that much, and I found the new characters to be underwhelming. Garfield is given daddy issues in this movie, which becomes a major part of the plot, and it attempts to drive most of the emotional moments. But I did not find their squabbles to be all that amusing, nor did whatever connection they have work on me. I thought the cat villain that forces the characters to pull this heist was weak, although her two hench dogs got a few chuckles. Oh, and then they throw in an additional antagonist with a security guard, and I did not find her antics to be all that amusing. On top of all this, there's also a bull who's separated from a cow he loves and who helps with the heist. So this is basically the U.S. Acres portion of the movie. Something you may or may not have noticed is I've not mentioned John yet. Why is that? Well, he's strangely pushed to the side through most of the movie. I personally think one of the funniest aspects of the comic strip is the dynamic between John and Garfield. In the beginning of this movie, it seems like he'll be pivotal to the story and Garfield's character. However, once Garfield is whisked off on his adventure, John only sporadically pops up again. Which is a shame, because he does get some laughs whenever we cut back to him wondering where his cat and dog have disappeared off to. Another big question is how I feel about Chris Pratt's voice work as Garfield. I've personally enjoyed plenty of his voiceover roles, including in the Lego Movie, Onward, and yes, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. However, while I was able to buy him as Mario, all I could hear in Garfield was Chris Pratt rather than the character. One problem is I think Pratt is too energetic for the role, and it needed someone with a bigger penchant for deadpan humor. His Parks and Recreation co-star, Nick Offerman, is someone who I still think would be a good fit for Garfield. Another thing I should mention is the product placement, which is quite distracting. I can live with seeing Sony-branded headphones in the movie, this being a Sony Pictures release after all, but then we also get Pop Chips, Walmart, and FedEx, a few even in the same scene and taking up a good chunk of the screen. I know I'm knocking a lot about the Garfield movie, but I don't think it's a bad movie. Far from it. I thought the movie was okay, just unremarkable, and I felt it could have been funnier and a lot more focused. I know I should not expect the movie to be just 90 minutes of Garfield sitting around and eating lasagna, and yet the most enjoyable moments for me were when it was just Garfield sitting around and eating lasagna. Despite my underwhelming reaction to the movie, I'm happy Mark Dindal got to direct a new movie, and hopefully we don't have to wait another 19 years for the next one.